Alright, well I'm here to do a little bit of a side-by-side comparison of the recently modded Game Boy Advanced with the IPS screen and HDMI dock mod compared to the Game Boy, or I'm sorry, the Game Boy Player for the GameCube, playing a Game Boy game. And I initially went into this thinking that the Game Boy Player was going to be the superior option, but there's actually a couple of reasons that I think I might have switched my initial opinion. So to start with, I want to mention that the obvious benefit of using this Game Boy Advance with the dock mod is that I can undock this and keep playing my game, which obviously my screen got messed up, but there we go. And then I can just as easily dock this back up, and it goes back onto the screen, which, there we go. Looks like it stretches it weirdly when you do that, but that's okay. Whereas this, yeah, I mean, granted, the GameCube has a handle on the back, but I can't exactly take this with me and play it now. So that's point number one for the Game Boy Advanced with the dock mod. Point number two is the screen size. So notice there's maybe about a ½ inch of space between the, this is a Game Boy game, and the edge of the screen. Over here, I've actually got like a whole inch, and yes, this is a bigger TV, but you can see that proportionally, that's just significantly less space, because the Game Boy Player for the GameCube has like a bezel, which is, you know, it's a nice, nice to have, but even if I'm pretty sure if I change the screen here to normal, or full, full is as big as it goes, which, yeah, again, to be fair, this is kind of a nice little, you know, enhancement to have this as part of the Game Boy Player experience, but it's definitely a much smaller experience too. So this is with Game Boy. I want to try this with Game Boy Advance and see how big our screen is here as well. I think it's going to go to the bottom of this bezel and the top here, and then we're going to go probably all the way to the, I don't know, I can't remember what it's going to do for Game Boy Advance. I know that on my my large TV, which is a 16:9, Game Boy Advance shows up beautifully. I've been playing a lot of Zelda and the Minish Cap, and that's been great. It's kind of been almost like playing Stardew Valley on the TV. But yeah, I guess the other disadvantage with this Game Boy Player is, these are a little bit harder to find. The Game Boy Players themselves aren't as difficult to find, but the disc, the startup disc for the Game Boy Player, is pretty hard to find for a reasonable price that's readable. I think there's a lot of them that are scratched up that people have, but they're just harder to find. This, I mean, I got this for a fraction, the mod kit with the IPS screen and the dock and all of that, even including the controller, for cheaper than it was to get the Game Boy Player. It's assuming you already had a GameCube in the first place. Anyway, that being said, I'm going to cut and we're going to try it with a Game Boy Advance game, and we'll do a comparison for that as well. Alright, so one thing I gotta say while I was putting this together is, or I was switching out this game, is one of the benefits of the, you can see there, that's booted up over there pretty nicely. Sorry, got distracted. Yeah, I know I don't have a good battery. That's okay. Okay. Alright, so one of the benefits of this is when I have to switch games, I don't have to turn off the system. I can hit start, oops, just kidding, I can hit Z, and actually go over here to change game pack, hit A, and then, yeah, I want to quit it, that'll do that. Now I can change game packs, and this is kind of a neat feature here. You ready for that? There's a little eject button on the side here, which, if I guess it does better with the Game Boy Advance games, but let me try that with this here. Another thing I don't like is I don't want to shift this around with the disc in it while I'm holding. Alright, I had some technical difficulties trying to get that cartridge in, but I did want to show this again, that if I insert it ever so gently without shifting the system, it boots right up and I don't even have to hit any more buttons. So that's kind of neat. And it boots up in full screen mode, which is nice. And we'll get our Pokemon Emerald going, just like we have on the other TV. And I did, while I cut, I actually fixed the aspect ratio. I had to do that with the settings here. This is what it was at, which is the 4:3. Switch it to the 16:9 aspect ratio. Now it looks really nice. So you can see that's booting up over here. Great. Yeah. Don't have to worry about the battery because it has one built into the flash cart. But here we go. So we're playing with both of them. So again, if you haven't seen the video about the the installation setup of this IPS LED and dock mod for the Game Boy Advance, go out and watch that. I'll link it in the description. But it really highlights the fact that we have an IPS LED screen. Replace the whole, like, all the guts except for the motherboard of this Game Boy Advance console. I really think this thing's got to win out. It takes up less space. It's easier to power. Like, I don't need, all of this is kind of a mess right now, but I got HDMI mini to an HDMI cable, and I've just got a regular USB-C charger, just a generic one, running this. Whereas over here with the Game Boy, or the GameCube with the Game Boy player, I've got this big old brick running this. I've got a disc that I've got to kick off. I've got this whole thing that I've got to set up somewhere. So it's neat for the time. I'm glad that I finally have one because I might break it out and play it. It's got its neat little quality of life things, like this little menu that has a timer. You can do screen filters on it, which is interesting. I'm not actually sure what the benefit of that is, but you can change certain settings on the controller. You can change that screen size, and then you can change the frames on the outside, which again is okay, great. But honestly, I much prefer this, the ability to take it off and play it mid-game. That's huge. And quality-wise on the TV, I don't really notice much of a difference. And I can hook it up through HDMI. That's another thing. This is going in through RCA, and you're probably thinking, yeah, but this was going through RCA. This is going through HDMI into an RCA, or a composite adapter, and then into the TV, just so that I could do this side-by-side comparison and show them both on CRT monitors. Normally I'm playing this on a modern flat screen, and it's beautiful. So I have to say, after comparing them, this was a great solution for the time. It's a nice, I think, novelty. It's a nice piece of history, and I do have to show you this. The eject with the Game Boy Advance games is so much more satisfying. Let's do this here. Boot it off safely. Are you ready for this? I'm going to hit this eject button, and pow! Pops it right out. So that's neat. But other than that, I mean, I don't think you can really beat the ability to do this and just keep playing the game. That's awesome. So that's my side-by-side comparison and review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like that you think I might have missed to compare these two. And yeah, like and subscribe.